Hello, everyone. One of the things that coaches in the Philippines experience is that they spend a lot of money to sign up for a coaching school. And usually it costs anywhere between a minimum of $2,000 to something as high as $10,000 for a full coaching course. But as soon as they graduate, one of the things that they find out is that, number one, in the Philippines, coaching is not as well known as it is in first world countries like the US and Singapore. Plus, the coaching rates that people are willing to pay in this country is a lot lower than what clients in first world countries are willing to pay. And so coaches find that they don't know what to do with their coaching training. And yet, we have a guest today who has not only managed to establish herself as a coach, but also put up a business in the process where a lot of other coaches are part of that business. So we wanted to talk to Jackie. Jackie Caniza is a professional certified coach, and she is one of the few coaches in the Philippines who have successfully put up a business. So Jackie, I wanted to ask you, how are you able to do that?
It's been a journey for sure. I guess if I would go back in time and kind of recount the journey I've been on. So I was in corporate for quite some time. I left in 2012. I knew that I wanted to set up my own business. So for the first few months, it was really just me on my own, kind of gaining my schooling for coaching. I went to Singapore to take my certification. I went to the US to study business courses to kind of prepare myself because I knew I was very focused and that I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Very shortly after, though, maybe about a few months, I realized I didn't want to do it alone and I needed to do this with someone else, partners, right? And that's when I decided to invite a couple of other partners into the business. And eventually, we now have a group of five of us who manage the business, right? And I think that became a huge factor of success, I have to say, in creating the pathway for what it looks like today. In fact, even the brand name has changed from when I first started to classes that we offer, the programs that we designed for our clients. All of that has been through a collaborative effort that this team in Haraya had put together. There's no way I would have been able to do all of that if I had gone on my own. I think that was a huge success factor for sure. Working with a group of people that have the same vision, that have the same aspirations as you and values as you, finding that tribe, as they would call it.
One of the first things that coaches struggle with as soon as they graduate from coaching school is how do they market themselves? How do they, put the message out there that they are now open for business and that they're ready to coach? So, Jackie, if you could maybe tell us, how are you able to get your first few clients right after you finished coaching school?
I can totally understand the challenge of that first few clients. When you just graduate, you're eager to practice and you're eager to use your new skills. And at the same time, you know that because of the lack of experience, you're not quite sure how to present yourself to potential clients, right? So, what I did initially was I first decided on a kind of a niche, if that's the right term for it, where I knew it was within the network that was close enough to me, a network that I knew very well, and kind of the space that I had some confidence to put myself out there. And that was very specific to working moms. I'm going to target this particular segment first. So I established that segment and then I reached out to as many working moms within my network as I could. sent them a private note and said, here's some new skills that I've gained. Would you be willing to, or do you know anybody who might be willing to test this out with me? So I kind of made an offer of, if you sign up as a pilot client, all you have to do is commit to the time for a few weeks to go through this journey with me. And you tell me what you think it's worth at the end. Because, I also didn't know how much to price myself, right? And I just targeted to get five. I ended up getting, I think, seven clients in that first wave of reaching out. As we completed the sessions and they were starting to pay me, it was actually a higher rate than I initially had thought I would get. So it was a nice surprise. At the same time, it kind of gave me that initial rate that I thought, okay, well, this is what people think this is worth. And I now have data to prove that point. That became my first kind of rate that I used for my coaching practice in the first few months. So that was, I think, the first marketing attempt that I had. And that's what I would recommend to any starting coach. Use your network, use your contacts, and use the space where you have some credibility, you have some good confidence that you can apply. It will be easy to find other clients from there. The referrals will start to come and people will start to learn more about what you do and how you do it. And one of the things that I noticed that coaches tend to do is to try and reach out to anybody and everybody. And I definitely would not recommend to do that. If everybody is your client, then nobody is. Have a good sense of who will gravitate towards you and your style and your approach, because everybody, I think, there's room for all coaches. We all have our unique styles and our unique way of doing things and approach that will have its own target market. Everybody has their own space.
So, what I heard from you is you defined your niche, and that would be the working moms. You sent them a letter saying, hey, would you like to try this out? And you did not set a price. But I guess what a lot of people are afraid of, aside from identifying the target market, is that a lot of people are afraid of rejection. Meaning, if they send out an email or an invitation or a letter, they are so scared to receive the word no. And I'm really interested, Jackie, like how are you able to really work up the courage to market yourself and maybe not worry about what other people are going to say?
I suppose it's a mindset more than it is anything else. The mindset that I had going in to my coaching practice was that the clients that are meant for me will sign up with me. And if they don't sign up with me, they're probably more aligned with another coach's style, and another coach might be better suited for them. And that's okay, right? There's more than enough of a client base out there that I could reach out to and that would be a match, because I can't pretend to be the right coach for everybody, right? And I don't think any coach could claim that. And so the rejection is not really a rejection, rather, it's a redirection to somebody else that might be better suited. That's, I think, the mindset that would help.
Wow, that is great. So it sounded like reframing from rejection to redirection. But now that you mentioned that, Jackie, so the initial step was determining your niche, reaching out to them, and then asking them what it's worth. And now, I guess the next question that's on my mind is how did it grow? Like, was this a product of, having repeat customers? Was it a product of having referrals? Like, if you could share with us, like, what was the next step after that initial stage of reaching out to them?
When I started completing those initial sessions with my first set of clients, I asked for referrals. I did take that bold step, and that takes some courage too, right? To ask your clients for referrals. Who do you think might benefit from this kind of service or this kind of help. And some will and some may not. But it started to come, I guess, a few at a time. I started becoming very active on social media, sharing stories of things that I did. I also started taking speaking engagements and talking to groups of, even small groups. As long as they were willing to listen, I would be there and I would be speaking about what I did and how I could help. There's a few things that you can do, and it's kind of like a diesel engine. Slow start and a slow burn, and then you start to see some traction later on when the referrals become referrals of other referrals, and so on and so forth. So I think that's when you've gotten good enough traction. The other thing I think that helped me was when I gained my credential, that first level of associate certified coach. When I first gained that credential, I think I started getting more cold inquiries through LinkedIn, through the ICF website. People would reach out, right? Because especially if they knew that about coaching and about the credentialed coaches and were seeking that out, it became a good way of gaining new clients outside of my network.
Initially, you said that you were surprised that from the initial group of people that you reached out to, they were actually saying that, okay, I think this is how much it's worth. And the figure that they gave was probably higher than what you initially imagined. And I guess that's another thing that is a concern for a lot of coaches. There's this sense of being shy or being timid to ask for the right price. So I was wondering, Jackie, how are you able to hurdle that hesitation of naming your price?
I think that's probably why I went that route in the first place, to ask, right, how much do you think it's worth? Because that to me is customer feedback, right? So that initial feedback gave me the confidence to use that price for other new clients, because I now had data that said, well, other people think this is what it's worth. And so it should be worth that way. That's the same to you. When people would ask, so it's the initial conversation, right? How much, right? When the client says how much, how do you even blurt it out of your mouth? I think is if you're not a seller, if you're not from a sales background, that's so difficult to do. In fact, I used to tell myself that, right? I was in human resources in corporate for a long time, and I thought, well, thank thank God I'm not in sales, because I don't think I would do well in sales. And now all I do is that the role I play is in business development and in sales, and all I'm doing is selling the company and the brand and the service, right? When you know the value of what you bring, when you are confident about the help that you're able to provide, the amount will not be difficult to say, because you know that this is worth, in fact, so much more. If they say no, that's okay. If they say it's not for me, it's too expensive, that's perfectly fine. That again is a redirection. It's not your client. I think it comes from that level of confidence first and foremost. If you know what you bring to the table.
So, Jackie, I remembered you mentioned that you were an HR practitioner, and then you just one day you just decided, hey, I'm going to put up a business. So, what was that thing that happened in between your stint as an HR person to your stint as a business person who can market her coaching services?
I knew at a certain point that I wanted to do something on my own eventually. But like most people, you kind of hesitate. You're a little scared to take that bold risk. At the same time, I kind of went through a bit of a transition in my corporate career. I had moved in my company from an HR role into a business development role. I had wanted to move to an operational role for some time, and I had a general manager who was willing to take a bold risk with my career, and he put me in a business development role. And in that role, I managed the implementation of a new business for the company. So I was like an entrepreneur. And that went on for about a year and a half. We were able to successfully launch that new business. And that's what gave me, I guess, the courage to think that, okay, it looks like I can do this. Because I mean, when you're in a project like that, you do marketing, sales, finance, supply chain, IT all in one, right? All of those roles are within you and a mini team of 3 people. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, if I can do this for somebody else, and why wouldn't I be able to do this and succeed if it was something that was my own, that I really felt passionate about? So that, I think, was what gave me that courage and that nudge to say, yeah, I think I'm ready to do this on my own now.
So something clicked. If I could do this for the business, then I can definitely do this for my own business.
Yeah.
One thing that I suppose, I mean, both of us are familiar with is the fact that people have their strengths profiles. And I was wondering, what is it about maybe your top five that you're using to actually drive the business and get new clients?
Okay, so my top 5 strengths are strategic, activator, self assurance, futuristic, relator. So you can imagine that the combination of those things would be very useful for managing a business, right? So the role that I play is in thinking about and envisioning where could we go as a business, what are the possibilities. That's my futuristic. And then taking a look at where are we now, and where have we been, and what data is available for us to use so that we can put together the right strategies so that we can get to where we want to get to. That's strategic. And then it's the activator that kind of kicks in and says, okay, we got to do this today, and or as soon as possible. There's a sense of urgency around getting things done. And then that self-assurance kicks in to say, yeah, we can absolutely do this, even if sometimes, well, many times, I really don't know what I'm doing. So they come in handy, my top 5 strengths.
I get that, like strategic activator, self assurance, futurist. I mean, definitely a wonderful combination for someone to put up their business. So it's one thing to start a business and a completely, like a different thing, I suppose, to scale it. So if you could maybe share with us the story of how you took Haraya from what it was back then when you first started it to where it is now.
One of the most important things that I want to attribute that success to is having very, very clear why, having a very clear why. Why do we exist as a company? What are we here to do? What is our purpose? And I know that sounds very cliche, but we really take that to heart. Our purpose is very clear. We would love to have coaching accessible and available to as many Filipinos as we can make available. That's always been the vision. When I was in corporate, I was looking for coaches for our managers and our leaders, and I knew the difficulty and the price that you would have to pay to get really good coaching. So for us as a team, it was about making it much more accessible, helping those who would benefit the most from it to gain access to a coach. Having that in mind, right, became the battle cry for all the different decisions and pivots that we had to make in the business. We knew that to make that access possible, we needed to create a bigger community of coaches and to grow the community of coaches in the Philippines. And that's why we partnered with Coach Masters Academy to bring in the coaching course here. And so if we were teaching and certifying new coaches, then we could build this pool of coaches that would make it more accessible. Beyond just training and certifying the coaches, we also knew that these new coaches may not have the skill set or the confidence yet to sell themselves, as you mentioned earlier, right? So how could we bridge that gap? We then will help provide maybe opportunities for them to do more work by finding new clients, growing the connection between coach and client. So that also then bridges that gap. So we're creating programs that coaches can then use to present themselves to new clients. And when you start to build this ecosystem of client base, coach base, community, and all of those pieces come together in a collaborative way, then it has to grow. It just has a natural progression. More people will want more of it, and more people will feel confident. As each individual grows, as each coach grows, the industry grows, and the country grows and benefits from it overall.
What struck me from your story, Jackie, because there's this thing that I've heard, from ego to eco, and eco standing for ecosystem. So while for some coaches it is primarily an ego thing, like I want to go to coaching school, I want to get my credential, I want to put up a business. What I'm hearing from you is because of your why, because of your purpose, clearly the goal was way beyond the ego. You were building an ecosystem. I heard that you partnered with clients, you partnered with Coach Masters Academy, you helped coaches gain their initial exposure. I guess one of the things that might come along the way, even if things are perfect, is that there might be some hiccups when you put up a business. So I was wondering, what were some of the hiccups that you initially encountered, and how did you get over that?
Yeah, it was not always a smooth ride. I can tell you that for sure, RV. We had some very difficult years. In fact, in the first 5 years, we struggled. There were months where we didn't know where our next paycheck would come from as a team. There were months when we had to forgo our own payouts just so that we can pay our employees. We went through that struggle too. And now that I'm recalling, the time, that was when I think as a team, when we started to really, really come together. And in challenging times, this is when teams get really put to the test, right? When the team pulls through because of that why, that's what I think will get you through. It was just relentless, I think. Relentless pursuit of where else can we add value? Where else can we make a difference? Who else might need our help? This whole pandemic, for example, coming into the quarantine, like everybody else, right? We struggled. We had projects that were being canceled. We had clients that were pulling back, prospects that initially we were supposed to start booking said maybe next year. So we were struggling as well. And what we did was we took a huge step back and asked ourselves, okay, what are we good at as a team and as a company? How can we use that to help, and where is it needed the most now? So we focused our attention on, well, let's just use what we have to help. And that's how we were able to deliver pro bono coaching for frontliners. We have a program called Unang Tugon, and more than 50 coaches volunteered to coach, frontliners. We said, okay, how do we help our corporate clients? And we offered to talk to their people and ask how they're doing, and checking in. So we did checking in conversations with our clients' teams for no cost. And from that information, they then told us what they needed and the kind of support that they felt was relevant today. And that then became the source of new designs and new programs that we now have as part of our roster. And we've started offering that. Slowly, we saw an uptick in the business, and we're actually going to, we're very much poised to end the year in not just a surviving mode, but to a certain extent thriving as well. And that's because we were very clear on the why. We were very clear on the kind of help that we wanted to do for our clients. And the money came second. In fact, it came third or fourth, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, we knew that that would come, and we trusted that that would come if we did the right thing and focused our hearts and our minds on the right thing. And I know that sounds very, idealistic, but it's proven to be very much a formula that works for us.
There were so many things from your story, Jackie, that were mind blowing as far as I'm concerned, and they were also very inspirational, such as how people rallied together to see how they can contribute to the business, how they can respond to the pandemic. And there was also that angle where you gave away talks, and then eventually the corporation started telling you what they needed. And I guess what I wanted to ask you is what made all of this possible? Everything sounded so miraculous, like ending the year, not just surviving, but thriving. How do you think that happened?
It's really the community and the team that made that happen. And we were talking about, this ecosystem earlier. It's not just us that believe in this why. It's not just me and my team. Our clients believe in this why. Our coaches believe in this why. And when you make that loud and clear in your messaging, in the way that you present yourself, and in the way that you work with and communicate with everybody, people will just want to jump on board. I find it's very mission driven versus money driven. And I think that's what a lot of people we've come across and we've worked with, from clients to coaches to partners, that's what I think resonates the most. People come to us and they say, you know what, we want to work with you because we believe in that too, and we want to help and we want to make that happen too. So it's not a hard sell. It's simply telling the story of, here's what we want to do and here's why we want to do it. What do you think? If you're on board, come along. If not, great too. We all have our own journeys with these communities, and when we're with our clients, the conversations tend to be very similar in flavor.
So, Jackie, I heard from you this concept of, starting from why like a couple of times already. And now I'm wondering, like, how has your strong sense of why allowed you to weather the biggest storm that you've encountered so far in your life?
When I was starting out as a coach, I knew that I would come across clients that might be going through really, really tough challenges, and much tougher than I would ever be able to imagine. And I always wondered about how I would be able to support them. I thought, am I capable? Am I in the best position to help clients that do have those very, very big challenges? Until I went through my own. In 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, as you know. And I remember one of the first things I thought was, well, here we go. You were wondering about whether this is something that you could help with, and now here's an opportunity. In the first few weeks, I knew that this was going to be an experience that would definitely strengthen my resolve to keep doing what I do. In fact, I think when I work with clients now, the perspective that I have is so different, even from when I started, simply because I had gone through this experience, and there's a sense of knowing and understanding and appreciating, how very difficult situations can be overcome. And I think that's what I help to bring, without even saying it sometimes, when you know that, every client you come across is strong enough, is capable enough of figuring out how to get through what they're going through, because you've done that and you've gone through it. You're still struggling, you're still going through it, but that kind of confidence that you have in yourself kind of finds its way to the confidence that you have in your clients. As a team, that particular time of my life really put us all to the test. I had to go through treatments, I had to take a leave of absence from work. The work that I was doing, they had to do themselves, and kind of divide and conquer among the team, right? Again, when it's very, very clear why you do what you do, the how and the what might change, and which has changed significantly since we started. The how and the what keep evolving, keep pivoting, and it's very clear why. And I think there's so much more resolve in that why today for me personally than ever before because of that experience that I've had. So in many ways, I'm grateful that I've gone through that because I now have this gift, an experience that I don't think I would benefit from in any other way.
Wow. I mean, that is such an inspiring story. Instead of letting cancer destroy you, like you used it, as a matter of fact, to number one, tap into your inner resources to see how you could deal with that, and use it to help your clients deal with something huge that they're dealing with currently in their life. So that sense of why is what got you through it. And I'm wondering, like for other people, not just coaches, who do not yet have their sense of why, like what might be one piece of advice that you could share with them?
You won't find it by simply deciding to find it, I think, is one thing that I want to share. I've had to do a lot of inner work and soul searching and introspection. I got help from coaches to figure out what was most important to me and why it was most important to me. At the same time, I'm not thinking or believing that in any way this is it. This is the end of it all, and this is going to stay forever the same. It's evolving. It's taking much more definitive form and shape every day. And so, for anybody, coaches and other clients or whoever that might be, right? If you're looking to find your purpose, one is ask for help, get someone to work with you and talk you through it and help you figure out what your why is. Or take the time and do the work because it's not just about waking up one day and realizing what it is, right? It does take work. It does take sometimes even painful work to realize what that why is. In my case, the cancer had to be front and center for me to open my eyes and realize, okay, I know what is most important right now. Definitely keep going and keep learning about yourself and keep growing.
So I wanted to give the people who resonated with your story, with your why, and the ecosystem that you created, I want to give them a chance to get in touch with you. So if you could maybe share with us, Jackie, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can look me up and the team up in our website, www.harayacoaching.com, or they can connect with me directly. My email address is jackie.caniza@harayacoaching.com.
Okay, thank you very much, Jackie, for sharing your time with us. I personally got inspired. I got a lot of nuggets of wisdom, and I am touched with your story of how you built a business, not for the sake of building a business, but because you were following a mission. So thank you very much, Jackie, for sharing your time with us this day.
Thank you so much, Arby. Thank you. It was fun.
Haraya's journey began when a group of experienced management, people development, operations, and wellness leaders saw the struggle of many organizations and individuals. Haraya has now built partnerships with over 90 business customers and close to 600 coaching clients. In this video series, Learning from the Masters, with every video, I introduce you to someone who is an expert at what they do. So if you haven't done so yet, click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. I would love to introduce you to a lot more people who are experts in their own field.